Chinese food, and it included the beef and broccoli and their egg rolls that were absolutely the best egg rolls that I've ever tasted. Now, maybe my memory is kind of colored a little bit from that childhood memory. That happens on occasion. Maybe, could be. At any rate, today we are going to do beef and broccoli, and we're going to do it keto style, and there is not going to be cornstarch, and there is not going to be peanut oil or canola oil or the oils that kind of pollute our keto journey. We're going to do it all natural. Okay, so let's get busy because we have lots to do today. And there we go. Now you can see where I am. Okay, now I have my wok out. If you don't have a wok, don't stress. Use a frying pan. Good morning, Mom. And so the very first thing that we are going to do is we are going to cut 2 strips of bacon. Now, in my world, for the most part, 2 strips of bacon is a waste of time. Who eats 2 strips of bacon? But we're adding this to a dish, and I'm doing a single serving. So, if you're cooking just for yourself, or maybe you're making a lunch for yourself or somebody else, pardon me, this is a single serving. So we're going to cut these 2 strips of bacon into about 1/2 inch, 1 centimeter pieces. See me switching back. I'm bilingual. I speak both metric and imperial, kind of. Okay, now we're going to turn this on 3. We're going to go with 3. And break these pieces up in here. Now, we're not going to cook the bacon all the way through. It's going to finish cooking through a little later. But we're not going to cook it all the way through right now. What we are going to do is cook it enough that we render a little bit of the fat out of here. So instead of using peanut oil or canola oil, which is typically what you would use for Chinese food, in Chinese restaurants, because it's economical, and that's just a polite way of saying it's cheap. But realistically, in a lot of countries, they have to use whatever is most economical. So, while peanut oil or canola oil might be traditional, well, canola oil is a kind of a new thing, so it's not traditional, but it is used often. Okay, so we are just going to leave that bacon in the wok. Can you see the bacon in the wok? Yes. Okay, well, we're just going to leave that there sizzling for a little bit. And I'm going to show you something. Now, this is a bowl of raw sesame seeds. Now, we've talked lots about toasting nuts. Well, seeds are the same thing. If you want to get a really nice, deep, nutty flavor, take the time to toast it. But make sure you are paying attention, because I turned away from my pan literally for less than a minute. I was just starting a pot of coffee and I heard something pop and I ruined a whole bunch of sesame seeds, because those are not, well, they are black sesame seeds, but they're not supposed to be. They're very burnt. So this goes in compost. But if you watch them carefully, they turn out, see the difference in color? And these are beautiful, and they're all roasty, toasty, and they are going to be lovely in our broccoli and bacon dish. I was going to say cauliflower, no cauliflower. Now see the oil rendering out of here already? Okay, now, while we have that bacon cooking, we are going to use, whoops, I'm just going to throw stuff on the floor down here. And there it is. Okay, while we've got that done, we're going to cut up our broccoli. Now, if you have some leftover veggies in your crisper, get them out and make a stir fry, because I'm using bacon and broccoli today, but you could use cauliflower, you can use whatever you want. You do you. Now, for me, my favorite part of the broccoli, you could throw the tree part away as far as I'm concerned. I don't actively dislike it, but I like the stems better. Now you can see these are cooking already. We're getting that beautiful bacon fat in there. Okay. I'm in the mood for music today. Okay, so we're going to finish cutting up. Now this is 100 grams of broccoli and 75 grams of bacon. See how that's almost equal? That's how I roll in my world. And we're just going to break this broccoli up. The smaller it's cut, the faster it's going to cook. So that's important. Now the other thing is, broccoli does not have, now I'm going to turn this off because I think that is almost as done as we want it. We'll just let it keep cooking in the pan. Broccoli is one of those things that you can eat raw or you can eat it cooked. So however cooked you want it is how cooked it should be. But keep that in mind when you are cooking your bacon, because you want your bacon to be done as much as you want it. Now for me, I'm not a fan of crispy bacon. I like my bacon soft. And apparently I like my sesame seed oil spilled on the counter. Dagnammit. Okay, well, we are going to fix that. You know, I love these little portion bowls, and I get things ready before we get together and hang out, but I also spill things sometimes. So that's going to not quite be a teaspoon. Okay, now you can see that our bacon is kind of about half cooked. It's cooked enough that it's got some beautiful bacon fat in the bottom of the pan, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to get our bacon plate back here, and we are just going to scoop our bacon out onto that plate, and we will finish that later. Now, we have the sesame seeds toasted, but that's not the only thing that we need to worry about toasting today. The other thing that I took the time to toast earlier, and I'm not going to use all of this, but this is sesame seed oil. Sesame oil. And yes, it is keto friendly. And yes, you can toast it. So what I bought was just pure sesame oil. But I want that deep, roasty, toasty flavor in there. Hello, Kabluna. Kablunya? Hey, Tammy, how are you? Okay, so in a pan, and I did this before we got together so that we didn't have to use up time doing that. Put some sesame seed oil in a pan, turn it on low or just a notch above, 4 or 5 minutes. And you're going to have beautiful toasted sesame seed oil. So that's going to make a big difference to the flavor of our dish as well. Now we're going to turn this back on. And I need a bowl. Maybe. Okay, we are going to get our broccoli in this oil, and we're going to get it frying. Now we're going to add a little bit of chicken stock in a little bit, but for right now, we just want the broccoli in there, and you want that turned down. The last thing we want to do is burn the broccoli. It's enough that I burned a batch of sesame seeds this morning. I don't need to burn the broccoli too. So, burn the broccoli. Make sure if you have a tin of bacon fat, make sure you have that handy because you may need some more bacon fat in a little bit. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we need about a teaspoon of green onions. I don't know exactly how much a teaspoon weighs, but we'll get the broccoli in there cooking first. Now because this is a single serving, you're going to want more if you're doing it for a family, and realistically, if you don't have enough whites of the green onions, we're going to be using the greens for garnish when the dish is done. So where is my teaspoon? Teaspoon of green onion, ish. So this is a recipe that you do your way. How do you like it? You don't like green onions? Leave the green onions out. You don't like ginger? Leave the ginger out. You don't like garlic, leave the garlic out. In my estimation, if you leave out the garlic, the ginger, and the onion, you don't have Chinese food anymore, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure that there are lots of people who find ways to have Chinese food without. Okay, now we're going to get that onion in there so it's sauteing with this as well. Now, I'm going to show you a trick. So you want fresh garlic for this, or fresh garlic. You do want fresh garlic, but you want fresh ginger for this. The best way to peel ginger is just with a teaspoon. Use the end of a teaspoon. Now this has been washed and dried. And that way, most of it, now I didn't cut the end off, I didn't trim it. We'll do that now. Oh my goodness, this ginger just smells absolutely amazing. Now, we could just grate this without taking the peel off, and there wouldn't be anything wrong with that either, as long as you've washed it well. But we don't want this grated this time. We want this minced. And the reason that you want it minced is because if it was grated, or if we used powdered ginger, the flavor is going to be way stronger than using minced ginger, and it's also going to take over the dish. Okay, that goes in compost. Now we're going to cut a couple of slices, and we're going to stir. Cut and stir the broccoli. Keep an eye on your broccoli. How crunchy do you want it? Okay, now this, I've got two fairly small slices, and I am just going to mince this. You want this in small pieces. Biting down on a big piece of ginger makes some people happy and other people not so happy. So I'm always thrilled to see new people here joining us, so that's awesome. So if you are doing keto, let me know how long you've been doing it. If you are thinking about doing it, let's talk about that too. Why is it that you're thinking about doing it? You know, I have people say to me all the time, I thought about doing keto, but I don't think it'll work for me. Well, you know, you got to make your own decisions. I can't convince you that it will or it won't. Or I've had so many people say, I tried keto and it didn't work for me, I gained weight. Well, that doesn't mean it didn't work. It means you didn't do it right. You know, if you learn to drive a car and you crash your car, it doesn't mean that cars don't work. It means that you didn't drive it right. So you have to learn how to drive with keto, I guess. Okay, now, this is not minced up nearly as small as I want it because I don't want big pieces of ginger in here. And you can see that the smaller this gets, the more I can tell that I have way more than a teaspoon of minced ginger. This is a good way to practice your knife skills. And that might seem like kind of a weird hobby, but I do like having a chance to practice my knife skills. Okay, that is minced up about as much as I want it. Now, get my teaspoon and see how much extra we have. Yeah, we got a little bit extra, but yeah, I did almost double what I needed to do. Let's do this again. Okay, now we are going to put the ginger in here. Set the rest of this ginger aside. Set it on the side of the bacon plate. And we're going to do half a clove of garlic. And you want this, again, I'm going to turn this off for a little bit. You want it to be fresh garlic. About 3 grams. Half a clove. Big clove, small clove. I don't know how much. Hi, Del. How much do you like garlic? I know in my house, if it's just me eating, there is definitely going to be way more garlic in it than there is at Del's home because he's not a fan of garlic. So, there's that. So, give it a smack with the side of your knife, and then we're just going to cut this in half, and we're going to really smash it down, and we're going to mince that up too. make sure that this is actually in little pieces. Now you could use a garlic press on this, but it's going to make your garlic way too fine. And the finer your garlic is, the finer your ginger is, the more intense the flavor is going to be. So the question then becomes, how garlicky or gingery do you want it? Okay. Now here's the other thing about garlic. And ginger a little bit, but garlic definitely. You want to put the garlic in and saute it just a wee bit, just until it gets fragrant, because I'm telling you right now, pardon me, if you let the garlic brown, it is going to be bitter. And because this is minced, it's not a garlic powder, this is minced, so you want to make sure that it's just getting fragrant, it's releasing the garlic fragrance and the garlic oils. And the one thing that I forgot to bring over here, I'm going to grab in a minute. Okay, so we have, no, okay, turned it on too. Now we're just going to let the ginger and the garlic heat up a little bit in here. Now keep in mind, this is for one portion, so you don't need lots and lots of garlic, you don't need lots and lots of ginger. If you're just cooking for yourself, just let the, oh my goodness, that's already getting incredibly fragrant. It's beautiful. Okay, now we are going to grab another bowl. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of fish sauce, so 5 milliliters. And then we are going to add 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. And we're going to give this a stir. Oh my goodness, this is smelling amazing already. Okay, now, the one thing that I forgot. And off I go, off camera. You're standing there looking at a blank screen. And we do need a little bit of sweetener. So, there we go. A little bit of sweetener. And we are going to add about 1 teaspoon of sweetener. So, there we go. Now this does not need to be super sweet. And if you don't want it sweet at all, don't add the sweetener. And I'm using a granular sweetener. If all you have is powdered, use that. Now, before... Oh, I don't believe I just did that. But I did. I put it in the wrong bowl. So now I have sweet sesame oil. Lovely. Okay. We are going to add this to the pan. I'll rinse that out a little bit. Now, do you know how to tell if your wok is hot enough before you drop stuff in it when you're adding oil? Now we were doing bacon, so it's kind of easy to figure it out because it was already hot. But if you put a drop of water in, or in a frying pan, if the water just sizzles and evaporates within a second or two, yeah, I'm not going to use quite half a cup. I'm going to use about 1/4 of a cup. And I'm going to add our sesame seed oil and our fish sauce and our apple cider vinegar. And I'm just going to let this cook down a little bit. Now this immediately stopped the ginger and the garlic and the onion from getting any darker. The onion is fine when it gets darker, but... And we are just going to stir this around, and we're going to let it cook down. And while that's happening, we are also going to add back a little bit of bacon. 2 pieces of bacon. I did something with only 2 pieces of bacon. I don't know about that, you guys. And I'm going to crank the heat up because we want to boil this off now and let it thicken. Now, if you really want this to be thicker and shiny like the Chinese food that you can, okay, we'll try that again. Like the Chinese food that you get, you can add a tiny little bit of xanthan gum or guar gum. Now xanthan gum thickens with heat, so it's perfect for stuff like this. And it's going to give you a beautiful shiny gravy to put on your plate. So if you are making it for yourself. Now, we have carbs in here because we have broccoli. So in broccoli, in 100 grams of broccoli, we have about 4.5 grams of carbs and about 1/3 of a gram of carbs in the fish sauce. Now, I've got to tell you something that I just found out. Did you know that in beef liver or goose liver, there are carbs? Now, I am not a fan of liver, and I know that liver has all kinds of nutrients and it's good for you, but the next time I say I'm not eating liver, that is going to be my excuse. Way too many carbs in it. In 100 grams of goose liver, there's like 7 grams of carbs. I don't even know how that's possible, but that's what they say, and I don't even know who they are, but they say it. So, okay, this is cooking down, and you can see that it's boiling away and getting a little bit thicker, and that's exactly what we want. And you can smell the ginger and the fish sauce. Now, this is something that is fairly new to my kitchen. This is a bottle of fish sauce, and this great big bottle was about $5. So it's a really cheap ingredient to put in your kitchen, and if you like Chinese food, you definitely have eaten fish sauce many times because it's used regularly. Oh, and this just absolutely smells amazing. Okay, we're just going to let that boil down, and we're going to chop up our green onions. Now, you know, I was going to look up the nutrition information for green onions, and I forgot. So, but I do know that they are a little lower in carbs than some onions are. Now, we just want enough to garnish our plate. So, we're not going to have a huge big plate of of broccoli and bacon. Oh, you want to be here next weekend, because next weekend I am going to be back here and we're going to be doing tempura. It's going to be keto tempura. Who knew that was even a thing? But here it is being a thing. Okay. Now this is almost cooked down enough. Oh, we're just going to give this a stir. Look at how beautiful that is. And the bacon is frying, and the broccoli is done. Okay, who's making Chinese food for supper tonight? And if I have inspired you to make Chinese food for supper, is it going to be keto? Okay. Now, get this out of the way for just a moment, because this is done. This is done. And the one thing that I forgot to put in here is a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. And you definitely do not want to miss the salt and pepper, because that is going to bring out the flavor even more of the ginger and the garlic and the broccoli and the bacon and all of the beautiful ingredients that we have just added to this pan. Okay, now let's get my sweetened sesame seed oil. I don't believe I did that, but I did it. And there goes that. Well, I guess my garnish is not garnish anymore. I'm on a roll today, hey? Oh well. Is what it is. Okay. Let's just dump this out on a plate. Okay, now we have this all on the plate, and I only have about 4 little pieces of green onion here that I didn't drop on the floor, but what I do have is some toasted sesame seeds that you can just sprinkle on top. And realistically, they're going to taste better than the green onions would anyway. So take the rest of your toasted sesame seed oil, with or without the sweetener in it. Take the rest of your toasted sesame seed oil and put it in a container. It's going to keep for a long time. Take the rest of your toasted sesame seeds and put them in a container. They're going to keep as well. And then once you have everything on the plate, honestly, I am on a roll. Okay, so a little bit of bacon, a little bit of broccoli. I don't know, I think this is upside down. I think we should have 100 grams of bacon and 50 grams of broccoli, but that is awesome. So, if you're trying to figure out what to do with that extra bacon extra bacon in the fridge. I always have extra bacon in the fridge. If you're trying to figure out what to do with that extra broccoli, if you have leftover broccoli that you cooked for supper last night, you definitely can do this with leftovers. So it is a great way. It is a great way to use up some leftovers and just save the bacon or save the broccoli towards the end and add it in so that it heats up and you're not going to cook it to mush, and do the bacon and all of the stuff first and then let the sauce boil down. It is absolutely delicious. You can make it sweeter, you can make it saltier. Do this so that it fits your taste. So it's important that you taste while you're doing it. But this plate only has about 5 grams of net carbs. That's it. So if that's a meal, and maybe you're going to add some more bacon to it, or you have a couple of eggs beside it, or you put it over some keto rice, yeah, you're going to have a super low carb meal that's absolutely delicious. It doesn't have cornstarch. It doesn't have peanut oil. It doesn't have canola oil. It just has things in it that are good for you and are going to help you regain your health if that's what you're going for, or help you lose some weight. Now, I don't know how many of you have noticed or even pay attention, but since I had my shoulder surgery, which has healed just beautifully, and I'm very happy with the results, the surgeon was amazing, but there were a lot of things that I couldn't do. But one thing that I could do was sit on my butt and eat. So I did, because I could, and I was bored. So I am walking, talking proof that keto is not a weight loss diet. Keto is a good way to gain weight if you eat too much of it, but it is a good way to nourish the human body. It's an anti-inflammatory diet. So if you know anyone who is planning on having some surgery, 30 days before and 30 to 60 days after minimum is really going to help your recovery. And I know this from 3 surgeries that have happened in our family, and for all 3 of us we had the same results, and physio and the surgeons agreed that it was because of our anti-inflammatory diet that our recovery went so much more quickly. So whether you're going to do it long term like I am, or you're going to do it short term to help you through a surgery, whatever it is you're doing, do it your way and have some broccoli and bacon. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, I'm here every Sunday at 10 a.m. Mountain. Click all the bells and the thumbs up and do all of the stuff so that we can hang out together every Sunday. Thank you so much. Do your very best to be the best version of you that you can be in the coming week. Reach out to somebody who needs to hear from you. So it will make your day just as special as it makes theirs. Thank you for being here. Bye for now.